The Serpentback Cave was already dangerous, but chapter 27 turns it into something much worse. Because now the problem is not just that the cave has been twisted upside down by Romanon magic. The real problem is that the adults and apprentices are being pulled apart at the exact moment they need each other most. Alira, Qifrey, Teddy, and Coco are moving through the cave, trying to find Richa, Agott, and Euini. But Qifrey is still injured from the fight outside. He's on a stretcher, recovering from the damage he took while protecting the others. And that detail matters, because the moment Sasaran appears, Qifrey does exactly what Qifrey does. He does not wait. He does not retreat. He sees the brimmed cap, understands there is a threat nearby, and immediately moves to confront it. This is heroic, but it's also reckless. Alira recognizes the danger right away. Teddy recognizes it too. Qifrey is hurt and he should not be fighting. Coco knows that as well. But from her perspective, Qifrey being in danger feels personal. He was hurt protecting them. So her first instinct is to ask Alira to go after him. But Alira has a hard choice to make. She cannot just run after Qifrey and leave Coco and Teddy exposed inside a cave where the floor, walls, and ceiling no longer behave like they should. That is the first major tension of this chapter. The adults cannot protect everyone at once. And this is exactly the kind of weakness Sasaran is exploiting. Let's talk about how the cave turns protection into separation. The Serpentback Cave has become a place where the normal rules of movement do not apply. Alira says it plainly. Because of the Romanon magic, they cannot even be sure whether they're walking on the floor, wall, or ceiling. That means one wrong step could send them sliding or falling into another part of the cave. So before Alira leaves, she gives Coco and Teddy a seal that can create a barrier in case something happens. Teddy also creates a tin of sand so the girls can hide and stay safe or stay put while Alira catches up to Qifrey. This is a very Witch Hat Atelier kind of scene because the tension is not solved with strength. It is handled with preparation, trust, and quick magical thinking. Alira gives them a tool. Teddy creates cover. Coco starts thinking ahead, and Coco's reaction is important. She does not simply hide and panic. She starts drawing spells that might help later. Bandage-like spells inspired by Richa's ribbon, foothold spells to help them climb, simple practical magic that even apprentices can draw under pressure. This is one of the quiet strengths of Coco as a character. She does not always know the answer, but her mind keeps reaching for one. Even when she's scared, she tries to turn fear into usefulness. Teddy follows that energy immediately. Once Coco starts thinking of what they can do, Teddy joins her. So even before the chapter reveals the bigger trap, we are already seeing the apprentices use the habits Qifrey's atelier has been teaching them. They do not have power in the grand adult sense, but they've learned to think like witches. And then Brush Buddy panics all of a sudden. At first, Coco does not understand why, but Teddy looks over the edge, and the answer becomes clear. There's a scale wolf down below. At least that is what it looks like. The creature is injured, frightened, aggressive. Teddy points out that scared animals can become dangerous, especially when hurt. But the chapter is setting up something more tragic than a wild creature attack. Because the wolf is not just a wolf, it is Euini. And this is the moment the chapter turns from unsettling to frightening. Because the scale wolf does not stay in the distance. It closes in close enough that for a second, it genuinely looks like it's coming for Coco and Teddy directly. Then it breaks off. It takes off towards something else in the cave instead, and Teddy immediately shouts for Coco to get Alira's wind spell ready, just in case. For a moment, it almost looks like the wolf changed course on purpose, like it protected them. Euini basically pounced on another scale wolf that was in the cave. Not sure where that scale wolf came from, though. Coco even says out loud, "Did it just protect us?" But then she catches something else. Whatever just moved past them was not the wolf at all. It was something disguised as a brush buddy. That is the exact second this scene reveals itself to be Agott. Now, let's talk about Agott returns with the truth about Euini. and he informs Tedia and Coco. So before Coco and Tedia can fully process what just happened, the truth catches up with them. The brush buddy-like figure reveals that it's basically Agott using a cloak spell to disguise herself. That reveal briefly brings relief. Agott is alive, Richa is safe, but we hadn't got to that part yet, and heading out of the cave. So I can tell you that information now. So for 1 second, it feels like the story is giving the apprentices a small piece of stability. Then Agott explains what happened to Euini. He's been marked with Forbidden Seal. With a Forbidden Seal, this is where chapter 27 changes shape. Before this moment, the danger still feels external. The cave is unstable. Sasaran is attacking. Qifrey is chasing him. The adults are separated from the children. But once Agott tells Coco and Tedia that the Scale Wolf is actually Euini, the danger becomes intimate. This is not just a monster in the cave. This is a classmate, a fellow apprentice, a child who came here to take a test and was turned into something else. And that makes the forbidden magic feel cruel in a very specific way. It does not just injure Euini, it attacks his identity. This is why this moment matters for the second pentagram test arc. The test was supposed to measure growth. It was supposed to be difficult, but structured. Dangerous, maybe, but still within a system. Sasaran's interference breaks that boundary. He turns the test of skill into a violation of the body. And that is where Witch Hat Atelier starts asking a much darker question. What happens when magic stops being a tool of learning and becomes a tool of control? Now, let's talk about Qifrey's, how he reads the tricks behind Sasaran's magic. So we're going to switch scenes, and you can see it on the manga panel. While the girls are trying to understand what happened to Euini, the chapter, like I said, cuts back to Qifrey fighting Sasaran. So Qifrey caught up to Sasaran, and now they're engaged in battle. And this is where Qifrey reminds us why he is dangerous in a completely different way from the Brimmed Caps. Sasaran mocks him. From Sasaran's perspective, Qifrey is using water magic in a fight where there seems to be no body to hit. Sasaran believes the pointed caps are too peaceful, too soft, and too untrained in battle to know how to respond properly. But Qifrey's answer is not brute force, it is literacy. He understands spells. He reads structure. He studies the purpose behind the magic. That is the key difference between Qifrey and Sasaran in this fight. Sasaran treats magic like domination and deception. Qifrey treats magic like a language. And once he understands the language, he finds the grammar mistakes. Sasaran has been acting as if he has, or it has, no body, as if there's nothing physical to strike. But Qifrey does not need to see that body to find it. He needs to find the thread, and he does, literally. His own water magic spreads out through the cave and catches onto something trailing back through the dark, all the way to Sasaran's cloak. That is when the ragged edges of that cloak stop looking careless. They were never sloppy tailoring. It was how Sasaran's cloak was designed, was never, for sloppy reasons. The cloak was designed so that it could hide exactly the connection Qifrey just found. The cloak is not just a cloak, it's a decoy, a conduit, and a way for Sasaran to project his attacks from somewhere else entirely while making it look like there was no body at all. So when Qifrey pulls him down, the fight changes. For this video, I need to pause here because this is one of those chapters where Qifrey shows exactly why he's such an interesting character. He's not simply powerful, he's observant. He's wounded, angry, and deeply personal in his motives, but his strength still comes from study. If you like these types of video where we do character analysis and story breakdowns, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Because with Qifrey, there's always more happening beneath the surface. Now, let's talk about Sasaran's body reveals the cost of forbidden magic that we see on Sasaran. When Qifrey finally exposes Sasaran's real form, the chapter adds another layer to the Brimmed Caps. Sasaran is not just a mysterious villain hiding behind a cloak. His actual body is a fusion of man and beast. Something went wrong. Forbidden magic changed him, and not cleanly. That matters because it complicates him. It does not excuse what he's done to Euini. Let's be clear about that. Okay? Sasaran turned a child into a scale wolf and used him as pressure against Coco. That is monstrous. But the reveal of Sasaran's own body suggests that forbidden magic has also harmed him. He's not just someone who uses forbidden magic. He may also be someone shaped, damaged, or trapped by it. This is why his response to Qifrey's face is interesting. Sasaran talks about Qifrey as someone blessed with beautiful features, someone who can walk boldly in the daylight. That line is doing a lot of work. It implies resentment, maybe even envy, or could be shame as well. Maybe the pain of being unable to exist openly in the world because of what forbidden magic made him. Now, the question is, did Sasaran do this to himself? Well, in the chapters to come, we're going to get an interesting flashback, but let's continue to deal with what's happening in this chapter. And then Qifrey asks the question that reveals his real motive. He pulls back his hood and wants to know if Sasaran recognizes him. This moment is not just about stopping Sasaran. Qifrey is searching for someone connected to his own past. He wants information about a brimmed cap with a face like his. But Sasaran does not give him the answer that he wants. The important thing here is that Qifrey's pursuit of the brimmed caps is not purely professional. We already know that it's personal. He's trying to solve a mystery that clearly belongs to his own life. And that personal urgency makes him more vulnerable. Because when Sasaran breaks free, Qifrey is still focused on the bigger question. What is Sasaran trying to accomplish? Now, let's call this next piece or the scene change that we're going to change back to following Coco and the girls. Coco becomes the target. And this is where Agott is now going to initiate the conversation of what she's basically found out. The chapter then starts overlapping two scenes at once. Sasaran is speaking to Qifrey and Alara, but the meaning of his words lands just as strongly with Coco, Agott, and Tedia. This is where the chapter makes its real reveal. The Brimmed Caps are not attacking randomly. Euini's transformation is not just cruelty for the sake of cruelty or cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's part of a plan centered around Coco, which we've gathered this information for a while. Agott tells Coco that Sasaran calls her the child of hope. That phrase reframes everything. To the Brimmed Caps, Coco is valuable because she is an outsider. She's not raised inside witch society. She did not grow up with the same fear of forbidden magic or the same loyalty to the pointed cap principles. That makes her dangerous, but it also makes her useful to them. Sasaran's logic is twisted but very deliberate. If Coco uses forbidden spells for what she believes are proper reasons, then her actions could be used to validate forbidden magic itself. She could become proof that the old rules are wrong, that forbidden magic should return, and that the laws of witch society are holding back possibility. This is manipulation dressed up as freedom. Though we should question, is this totally wrong? That's going to be the question that we need to hold on to for a while as we continue to go through these chapters. Because this is the heart of chapter 27. The Brimmed Caps are not only trying to tempt Coco with power, they're trying to tempt her with compassion, because Coco is going to help the people that she is now attached to. Because think about it. All roads lead back to her mom, right? Saving them also means saving her mom. Like saving the people like Euini and Teddy or Coco Richie or Qifrey if they get hurt or put in a situation where they get hurt or something happens to them, and the use of forbidden magic could help them. All roads leads back to protecting her mom. So let's continue. They know she wants to help people. They know she already carries guilt over her mother. They know she is the kind of person who will reach for a solution when someone is suffering. This is so true. So they put Euini in front of her as a problem that the rules may not be able to solve. And that is cruel because they are not asking Coco to become selfish. They're asking her to become desperate. Now, this is where Coco and Agott has the conversation, and Agott gives Coco the hard warning of everything that she's learned. Agott understands the trap faster than anyone else in this scene. She tells Coco that the Brimmed Caps may be trying to get her to cast forbidden spells. They may want her to choose their path in order to save Euini. This is a strong Agott moment because she's not just being strict. She is scared. Agott has seen what happened to Euini, witnessed it along with Richard firsthand. She knows how terrifying the magic is, and she knows Coco well enough to understand the danger. Coco wants to help. This is her gift. But in this situation, that same gift can be used against her. This is why Agott's warning matters. She's not telling Coco not to care about Euini. She is telling Coco not to let the Brimmed Caps weaponize that care. Chapter 27 ends in a very uncomfortable place. Euini is still transformed. Qifrey is still hurt. Sasaran's goal is now out in the open. Well, the Brimmed Caps' goal is now out in the open. Coco has just learned that the Brimmed Caps see her as a symbol of hope for forbidden magic, not because she is evil, but because she is compassionate, curious, and outside the world's normal rules. This is what makes this chapter work. It turns Coco's best qualities into the exact doorway the enemy wants to use. If the last video was about Euini's fate becoming the turning point of the cave's test, chapter 27 also shows us why that fate was never only about Euini. So the previous video where I covered chapters 25 and 26, if you haven't seen those, check those out. So again, chapter 27 shows us why that fate was never only about Euini. It was a trap built around Coco. And I'm going to add one more piece in there. It could be a possibility to persuade the other girls as well. In my opinion, the Brimmed Caps, yes, Coco is the center, but if they get to collect any of the other young witches to come to their side, that's a plus. So, and next, chapter 28 pushes that trap even farther because Coco, Agott, and Teddy start looking for a way to save Euini without crossing the line into forbidden magic. So here's my question for you. Do you think Agott is right to warn Coco so strongly here, right? Let me tell you, Agott lays it completely on the line. If you look at the manga panel, like she is looking Coco dead in the eye, face to face, and you can see the concern on her face. Once again, this is the question. Do you think Agott is right to warn Coco so strongly here, or is Coco's instinct to search for hope exactly what makes her different from the rest of witch society? If you made it to the end of this video, thanks for hanging in there with me. Do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. I will meet you at the next Pointed Hat discussion. Thanks for stopping by and watching.